The Blue Grocery by Alwa, Oshg, Gully. Scene 1. The Light. The forest had no stars, only the long hush of trees, black and endless, and the sound of small twitching things that never dared speak too loud. Somewhere far off an owl called once, and was answered by nothing. The raccoon crouched in the hollow of a dead log, his paws slick with sap, his belly yawning with need. The hunger had no shape anymore. It had grown beyond food. It throbbed like a wound behind his ribs. That was when he saw it. A light. It flickered just past the tree line, a pale yellow glow, steady and warm, like a fire that never smoked. The raccoon froze. The forest never glowed like that. This was not lightning, nor the sickly shimmer of fungi, nor the blinking glow of fireflies, nor moonlight. This was something made, something inviting. He sniffed the air, plastic, oil, sweetness, salt, human things, alive things. With slow, shuffling steps, he crept forward through the underbrush. Brambles clung to his fur, burrs dragged at his tail, but the light kept shining, and he followed. When he broke through the last row of trees, the forest gave way to asphalt, cracked and shimmering with puddles. Overhead, a flickering sign buzzed weakly in the dark. The Blue Grocery. Open always. The parking lot was empty except for one crooked shopping cart and a pair of moths fluttering beneath the hanging lamp. The raccoon blinked. The light hurt his eyes, the warmth of it, the promise. The glass doors parted with a sigh. And the smell, oh, the smell, rolled out like a spell. Fried things, fresh fruit, sugar, meat. It hit him like a wave, and without thinking he scampered forward. No one stopped him. Heaven had opened its doors, and he stepped in. No one ever came to the Blue Grocery at night. The parking lot, though lit, stood empty for hours at a time. The sign buzzed. The wind shuffled paper wrappers across the concrete. But not a single soul ever parked their car beneath that buzzing light between midnight and dawn. Inside, the store lived like a summer's daydream half forgotten. The air was always cool, the lights always humming, and the shelves always full. The owner, a man known only as Mr. Doré, slept in a little office tucked behind the butcher's counter. He kept the door cracked open, a fan running low, and a shotgun under his desk. He snored like a machine, a slow, steady wheeze through his bulbous gin-blossom nose. And the cashier, Teague, a thin young man with a halo of frizzy hair and eyelids heavy from too little sleep, spent his nights slouched behind the counter, staring at nothing, bobbing his head to the warble of old metal records only he could hear through his battered headphones. He never looked up when the automatic doors sighed open. He never heard the click of small claws on tile. He barely noticed the world unless it walked straight up and spoke to him. So when a raccoon entered the Blue Grocery that night, no one stopped him. Not Teague, not Mr. Doré, not even the store itself, which seemed to know, somehow, that he belonged there, if only for a while. Scene 2. The Feast. The raccoon skittered beneath the produce bins, his black eyes wide, every inch of fur bristling with awe. He had never seen color like this. Piles of oranges, bright as suns, stacked beside soft green mountains of lettuce, their leaves trembling faintly under the breath of ceiling fans. Rows of purple grapes hung low like offerings from a forgotten temple. Everything glistened. He crawled up the side of a display and sank his teeth into an apple so red it looked painted. Juice burst in his mouth, sweet, wild, real. He dropped it, tore into another, then another. He was a storm. He leapt to the bakery aisle. Donuts, soft and still warm, frosted pastries, a lemon cake with sugared edges that melted the moment it touched his tongue. He rolled in powdered sugar. He tore into loaves of bread with both paws, scattering crumbs like snow. The hunger that had lived in him so long, longer than memory, longer than life, and certainly longer than death, howled with joy. It sang through his limbs like lightning. In the frozen section, he dragged down a bag of fish sticks and chewed the plastic apart just enough to gnaw the cold, salty meat inside. He devoured a rotisserie chicken with trembling paws. Somewhere in the candy aisle, he laughed, an awful chittering sound like rusted wind chimes. He ate until the shelves blurred. He ate until his belly dragged the floor. He ate until he could not move. Beneath the fluorescent hum, amidst wrappers and torn bags and shattered jars, the raccoon curled himself into the corner of the snack aisle. Sticky and swollen, crumbs clinging to his whiskers. He sighed once, a long, blissful breath, and slipped into a sleep so deep it felt as if he had disappeared into oblivion. Scene 3. Found. Morning came in thin blades of gray. It crept through the windows in the front doors and slid across the tiled floor, gentle and unwelcome. The automatic lights had never turned off, but in daylight they seemed cold, like a stage after the actors have gone, or an empty place setting at a dinner table. From the back office came the creak of a chair, the cough of a man who'd smoked too many years, and the low scrape of boots on linoleum. Mr. Duray emerged in his usual fashion, muttering, grimacing, brushing crumbs off his wrinkled shirt with one hand, and holding a coffee cup in the other. He paused at the end of aisle 2, rubbing one eye. Then he saw it. "Ah, hell," he said flatly. The raccoon was sprawled like a bloated prince in the ruins of the snack aisle. His paws twitched faintly in sleep. One hind leg was half inside a torn bag of marshmallows. His chest rose and fell with heavy, syrupy breaths. He smelled like sugar, meat, and disaster. Mr. Duray took a long sip of his coffee, then sighed. He went to fetch the broom. He nudged the raccoon awake, scooped him into a laundry bin, and deposited him just past the tree line with all the ceremony of tossing out spoiled milk. The raccoon blinked blearily at the store from under a bush, still too full to move, his mind slow and thick as honey. But the door had closed, and behind that door the warm world turned again. Lights buzzed, music played, voices murmured, life resumed, without him. He licked the sugar from his paw, and waited. Scene 4. Sarah. The forest was quiet, but the raccoon was not. He paced in circles, tail twitching, belly groaning. The sugar high had burned off, leaving only ache. But it wasn't his stomach now. It was something behind his ribs. A restless stirring. A second hunger. He crept forward through the underbrush, nose poking past the ferns, eyes fixed on the glowing facade of the store. Daylight washed the parking lot in silver haze. Through the windows, he saw movement, shadows, life, and then her. She stepped into view behind the fish counter, lifting a silver tray. Her apron was stained with fish blood, guts, and scales. Her ponytail swung as she moved. She didn't glow, not exactly. But the light found her. It chose her cheeks, her eyes, the arch of her neck. Joyous refraction, ever glowing. He froze. Something vast and wordless uncoiled in his chest. The hunger twisted, softened. He wanted her. She laughed at something Teague said. Her laugh was short, warm, real. The raccoon's claws curled into the dirt. He watched her until the sun rose high and the shadows shrank. And sometime between one heartbeat and the next, he began to change. Scene 5. The Strange Man and the Fishmonger. The bell above the door jingled. It almost never did during the day. Sarah looked up from the fish counter, elbow deep in crushed ice, her fingers slick with brine. The man who entered didn't look like the usual drifters or truckers who wandered in off the highway. He had no bags, no car keys, no sunglasses. He looked strange, out of place. Tallish, pale, barefoot, which was odd. His clothes were loose, outdated. His hair was wild, as if he'd combed it with wind. But his eyes, black, shining, too wide, stopped her. He walked straight toward her, weaving past the soup display, ignoring Teague's half-hearted, "Hey, how's it going?" from the register. She straightened. "Can I help you?" she asked, wiping her hands on her apron. He looked at her like she was a comet, shining, a mystery in the night sky. "I'm in love with you," he said. Sarah blinked. "Sorry?" "I love you." There was a moment of stunned silence, during which the fluorescent lights buzzed, and a lone fish behind the glass twitched its tail. Then Sarah laughed, not cruelly, softly, like someone who'd just tripped and found the awkwardness funny. "Well," she said, brushing her hair from her eyes, "that's very flattering. You don't waste time, do you?" He said nothing, but smiled a toothy grin. Sarah tilted her head, confused by this strange young man. "All right, then. Well, I'm Sarah. Welcome to the fish counter. Can I get you anything?" He looked at the glistening rows of silver-scaled bodies, the crushed ice, the dull eyes of the dead fish staring blankly upward. And then, as quickly as he had arrived, he turned and began to walk away. Sarah smiled again. "Well, come back when you're hungry." He nodded solemnly, without turning back. "I am always hungry." Scene 6. Into the Woods. The nameless stranger didn't buy anything. He didn't say goodbye. After his strange declaration, he simply turned and walked out, bare feet soft against the tile. Sarah watched him through the glass doors. He stepped off the curb, crossed the parking lot without looking back. The wind tugged lightly at his shirt, revealing the outline of shoulder blades too sharp, too still. For a moment he hesitated at the edge of the forest, and then he vanished into the trees. Sarah stood there a while, hand resting absently on the edge of the fish case, feeling the cold seep into her fingers. The sounds of the store moved around her, Teague's music playing too loudly, the humming lights, the dull creak of swinging doors in the back. But her mind stayed fixed on that young man. Scene 7. The Return. The moon was higher that night, but the clouds were thicker. A dampness clung to everything, air, pavement, skin. Mr. Duray had fallen asleep early. Teague, as always, was adrift in his music, nodding his head to the beat. So no one noticed when the glass doors slid open again, and no one noticed the raccoon. He moved with more purpose this time, nose twitching, eyes sharp, memory guiding him aisle to aisle. The same bounty awaited him, bread, meat, fruit, sweets. The smell sent his pulse racing. He feasted again. Less chaotically this time. There was reverence in his hunger. He took from the shelves as though gathering all the world's treasures into his little paws. In the cereal aisle, he tipped over a box of marshmallow charms and rolled in it, chittering softly. By the time the clock neared 4, he was curled up beneath a plastic display shaped like a pineapple, breathing slow and heavy, a smear of chocolate on his whiskers. Once again, the dawn would find him full and foolish, and once again, the world would carry him out. Scene 8. The Look. Morning came again, gray and unkind. Mr. Duray stood at the edge of the snack aisle, one hand on his hip, the other holding the same old broom. The raccoon, fat, glossy, ridiculous, blinked up at him with the contentment of one simply too satisfied to care. "You again," Mr. Duray muttered. With a familiar grunt and sigh, he swept the raccoon into the laundry bin, wheeled him through the automatic doors, and dumped him unceremoniously at the edge of the woods. "Go on, get." The raccoon tumbled into the grass and rolled onto his feet, sluggish but not panicked. He licked a smear of icing from his paw. Then he turned and looked back. Not at Mr. Duray. At Sarah. She was standing at the fish counter, just setting up for the day, laying crushed ice into neat little drifts. Something pulled her gaze to the window, and there, through the glass, across the lot, she met his eyes. The raccoon. Still. Watching. There was something in his stare that felt wrong. Not animal. Not quite. Not fear, not pleading, just recognition. She blinked. The raccoon turned, flicked his tail, and vanished into the trees. Sarah straightened slowly. Her hands were still in the ice, but the chill was spreading higher, curling under her skin and settling behind her eyes. "Hey, Teague," she said quietly. Teague popped out one earbud. Has that raccoon ever, looked at you funny?" Teague squinted. Funny how?" "I don't know. Never mind. I must be imagining things." Teague snorted. "Sarah, are you okay?" She didn't answer. She just kept laying the fish, but her eyes kept flicking to the door. Scene 9. The second visit. The door chimed again, softer this time. The hour was late. Afternoon, maybe, or later. Sarah had lost track. She looked up, expecting another tired customer. A snack seeker, a smoker, or an old man looking for bait. But it was him. Human again. His hair was damp from the mist outside. His shirt hung loose, the collar slightly crooked. His eyes were the same, deep, black, too still. She didn't speak, not right away. Neither did he. For a moment, he simply looked at her. Then he said it again, exactly as before. "I'm in love with you." Sarah stared at him. You said that before." A pause, then, "Are you an angel?" She blinked. "What?" "You live in heaven. You make light come out of your face. When I look at you, I don't feel afraid, or lonely, or sad. Are you an angel?" "No," she said softly. "I'm just a fishmonger." She almost smiled. 12-hour shifts, and I smell like halibut most days. That's about as far from angel as it gets." He looked around the store, at the aisles, the humming lights, the clean floors, the smell of citrus and bleach and bread. "Why can't I stay?" he asked, and his voice cracked just slightly. "I want to stay here, in heaven, with you." Sarah felt something shift behind her ribs. She recognized those eyes from somewhere. The raccoon? She felt a chill run up her spine. She felt crazy, but she knew she wasn't wrong. Somehow, she just knew. It's you, isn't it?" "You keep breaking in," she said gently. "Eating everything, making a mess. You're ruining things. If you keep this up, I'll be out of a job." "I'm sorry," he said, though he looked confused. "I didn't know. I was just so hungry. And the light, it brought me here. It showed me the way. The doors opened by themselves, welcoming me into this paradise." He stepped a little closer. "Please," he said. "I'll try to be better. Just let me stay. I don't want to go back into the dark." Sarah's hands trembled slightly against the steel counter. "I have to get back to work," she said quietly, not knowing what else to say. He looked at her a moment longer, then he nodded once, slow, small, and turned away. She watched him go and started to tear up, but swallowed the sadness down. Scene 10. The Truth. It was worse this time. Shelves torn open, flour like ghost dust in the air. Tomato sauce smeared across the tile like a wound. Crushed candy. Split milk cartons. Bones. The snack aisle was a battlefield. Mr. Duray stood over the wreckage, broom in hand, his face dark and unreadable. Teague had taken out one earbud and was staring in vague disbelief, chewing on a Twizzler. And there, at the epicenter of it all, lay the raccoon, bloated, glazed in sugar, smelling of salt and meat and sweetness. His little limbs twitched in a food-drunk sleep, chest rising and falling in slow, syrupy rhythm. Sarah didn't say a word. She just stepped over the mess, past the shattered jar of olives and the crumpled chip bags, and crouched down. "Hey," she said softly. The raccoon stirred. "Wake up." One glossy black eye blinked open, then the other. He looked at her, and something flickered in his expression. Love? Guilt? Sadness? "Is it you?" she whispered. He said nothing. Behind her, Mr. Duray grunted. "Move! This is the last time that vermin breaks into my store." "No," Sarah said. "Let me take him back to the woods. I can fix this." Mr. Duray started to speak, but Sarah quickly interrupted. "Please, sir." She reached out slowly, gently, and touched the top of his head. His fur was sticky, but warm. "You lied to me," she said. The raccoon didn't move. His little hands curled inward. His ears twitched once. "You said you wanted to stay, that you'd be better." "I tried." The voice came not from the raccoon's mouth, but from the air between them, soft and low. "I'm not made for rules." Sarah looked at him for a long time. Then she stood up. "You can't come back," she said. Her voice was not unkind. It was final. "You don't belong here." She picked him up, cradling him softly in her arms, and began carrying him out. Past the parking lot, past the tree line, and back into the dark forest. Final scene. The edge of the forest. Sarah walked alone across the parking lot, her coat pulled tight around her. The night was cool. The trees stood black and tall like old sentinels. Her boots crunched on gravel, then softened on grass. She didn't call out. She didn't have to. He was there, curled in the low ferns just past the tree line, waiting, as if he'd always been waiting. A raccoon still, small, hungry, watching her with those deep, dark eyes that had once worn the shape of a man. She crouched down, slowly, and reached into the paper bag she'd brought with her. She laid out a few scraps of fish, a heel of bread, a crumpled slice of lemon cake. He approached carefully, silently, nose twitching. She didn't speak, she just held out her hand. He came close, closer than any wild thing should, and nuzzled into her palm. His fur was soft again, clean. She stroked his head. "I'm sorry," she whispered, though she didn't know whether she meant for banishing him, or for letting him stay this way, between worlds. He didn't answer. He only pressed his head into her touch. For a long while they stayed there, a girl and a ghost, at the edge of the darkness, looking at heaven. And when she finally stood, turned back toward the store, and started to walk away, he watched her until she was gone. It seemed to him that she had left a trail of light behind her. For a moment he started to rise, to follow that light back to the blue grocery. But instead he curled himself back under the ferns, slept, and dreamed of heaven. The end.